The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to our last webinar of this series. Today we're going to be listening to Belle Behringer, and we are going to be recording this. It'll be available through YouTube, the NISA website, and the NAIPC website. That'll be www.nisa.org and www.na-ipc.org. So it'll be available through those websites. As Belle is giving her talk, you can ask questions in the question box on the GoToWebinar pane. And at the end of the presentation, I'll read off any questions that may come up, and she'll answer them. So I'd like to introduce Belle. She's the Executive Director of the North American Invasive Species Management Association and National Campaign Director of PlayCleanGo, Stop Invasive Species in Your Tracks. Belle has 15 years experience in environmental nonprofit management. She received her BA in Biological Sciences from Mount Holyoke College and her MS in Ecology and Evolution with training in environmental management from the University of Pennsylvania. She grew up in Connecticut, hiking the New England Appalachians and canoeing the Adirondack Lakes. She still generally tries to spend as much time as possible outdoors, and she currently lives on the shores of Lake Michigan in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with her active family. So I'd like to thank Belle for joining us today, and you may go ahead and wow us with your presentation.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks for that introduction. And thanks, everyone, for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to our presentation today. As Rebecca said, I'm Belle Bergner with the North American Invasive Species Management Association and National Campaign Manager for PlayCleanGo. And I'm going to talk about what the campaign is today, PlayCleanGo, Stop Invasive Species in Your Tracks, and how you can get involved. So let's see, get my cursor here. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do as an overview is I'll talk about the problem that the campaign addresses. I'll discuss a little bit about how the campaign was developed with very strong foundations in research on social research and community-based social marketing. I'll talk about why it has been a successful invasive species prevention and outreach campaign in North America. I'll talk a bit about how the campaign works, resources that we offer partners, and a bit about future direction and where we're going. And then finally, how you can become a partner if you aren't already. So what is the problem that we are trying to address? This, and really the title of this slide should be these, as I'm sure most of you are deeply involved with either managing or researching or in some way working with the challenges of invasive species. These are just a few of the problems. So, you know, whether you're in, let's see, where's my cursor here? There we go. Whoops, let me pop that back on. Whether you're dealing with Japanese stiltgrass in the southeast, or emerald ash borer movement, or spotted lanternfly, garlic mustard. I think we've got starry stonewort here and zebra mussels. Invasive species are a challenge. They once they get established, they can spread rapidly. And prevention, we have realized after many years of dealing with the challenges of managing invasive species, prevention is really the most cost-effective way of dealing with or preventing the problem from coming in the first place. But what we're dealing with, we're not just dealing with the invasive species themselves. What we know we're really dealing with here is, whoops, my mouse is not cooperating. Let's see. Sorry here. There we go. This is also part of the problem. These all look like very nice people, wonderful children, riding their bikes, riding horses, hiking, walking, canoeing. But what we're really looking at here are vectors or pathways of transport for invasive species. All of these things, bikes, shoes, horses, could be carrying seeds or fragments of invasive species as these individuals or horses or bikes move along the trail or path. So how do we address this transport, this vector? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about behavior and why behavior is really the issue that we need to work with in trying to get to stop this this pathway of transport for invasive species along recreational pathways. What we're looking at here is bad behavior, right? This is someone throwing something out their window. Either they're lazy or didn't realize that, you know, maybe this is someone who didn't realize that littering causes problems. But it is a behavior. It's a behavior that we know successful recycling and litter campaigns they've worked because they've addressed the behavior of what's happening. So again, you know, looking at recycling as an example, we know that very clear brands or clear symbols and thoughtful programs that place opportunities for the right behavior to happen at the right places are successful. So, for example, here, you know, we see kids, they learn to recognize the recycling symbol. They learn to look for recycling bins to put their waste in a proper place rather than throwing things away or littering. So that's just an example. And we know from years of successful recycling programs and litter campaigns that people can change. So adapting what we know about behavior change, and recycling is just one example of how we can change people's behavior. You know, we can look at why some of these campaigns, these different kinds of behavior change programs have been successful. And what we look at when we look at recycling is we see when recycling containers are placed in the most convenient places and they're right next to landfill or trash receptacles, that's when we see the most success. So you're going to see in a bit how this parallels the messaging and the strategy of the PlayCleanGo campaign. But I wanted to just talk about this as an example because this is a behavior that we've been working on, that our society has been working on for probably a bit longer, quite a bit. I'd have to look at when recycling really became established. We're talking probably 20, 30 years, but we know that, you know, there's successful behavior change programs. The other thing that recycling has done successfully is reaching out to people in a variety of marketing and outreach platforms. So billboards, social media, flyers, newspaper articles, advertisements. So we got to look for opportunities to remind people as much as possible of that behavior that we want them to do. All right, so what does that have to do with PlayCleanGo? Well, it's really the same strategy. It's the same approach to changing behavior and being very targeted at where the messaging goes and how the message is conveyed. So here we go. So the solution that the PlayCleanGo campaign came up with is what we're going to talk about now. A very clear message. And first, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the history for anyone who doesn't know where PlayCleanGo came from. I think it was 2008, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources got partial funding from the USDA Forest Service to do the research, to do the social science, and really identify what recreationists view as what they value and how to use those values in messaging that gets them to realize that they play a role and what they can do, and connect that to their inherent values and what gets them outdoors to begin with. So after that research, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources launched the campaign in 2012, and the tools that research, the tools to change public behavior came out of that research. Oops, it looks like this image got a little distracted. Okay, so what we're doing here, like I talked about with recycling, is we're changing public behaviors. So we know recreationists are, they are diverse. They're doing activities in all kinds of landscapes in a variety of different transport mechanisms, basically, whether they're in an ATV, they're in hiking boots or biking, whatever their transport mechanism, the behavior messaging needs to be the same. So like I said, the campaign research figured out how to identify audience beliefs, knowledge, and values pertaining to invasive species and recreation in general, and figured out how to connect with those values, how to supply the necessary tools to change the behavior, and to craft the message so that it's accessible. So what we'll talk about is how the message is positive and flexible, how it's straightforward, and working together with partners, we can reach and expose a whole spectrum of recreationists that we wouldn't be able to do if it was just one organization doing this. So why does it work? It is a very, so it's a brand that defines the action that we want recreationists to do. It's very simple: play, then clean your gear, and then go. There is flexible formatting for the graphics that are available to partners, and I'm going to talk in more detail about that in a little bit. The designs are very clean and simple. It's a modern color palette. It's fun. It's playful. It has applications to aquatic and terrestrial invasive species. And there's a very clear and flexible co-branding guide that invites partners to modify the materials with their logo. So if you work for, say you work for a local land trust or a CWMA or a park or even a bigger state organization or regional, there's very clear guidelines, and I'm going to go into that in a bit, that show you how you can add your logo and your messaging to the materials. And there's a large graphic library that's been developed and is available to partners to, like I said, like swap out pictures, logos, messaging, to customize to local outreach. One of the biggest reasons why I think it's been so successful in spreading across jurisdictional boundaries is its positive message. A lot of times when you're dealing with an environmental challenge, the message can be very negative because it is a big challenge. And when we look at the impact that some of these invasive species in particular are having, it can be very devastating. But to get people to change their behavior, we've got to make the message positive. We've got to make individuals, recreationists, feel that caring for the earth that they're out there enjoying is doable, and we need to empower them. So that's what the campaign does. It empowers recreationists to clean their gear. So what we've done, what the campaign has done, is work very hard to make this easy for partners to adopt and make it easy for recreationists to do the behavior. For example, this is, you're looking at a boot brush station. So one of the graphics that we offer to partners to customize is this kiosk sign. You can swap in your logo and swap out these invasive species to meet the outreach and concerns in your area. And we also have these the handheld boot brushes. I'm sorry, this picture is not terrific, but these are kids holding the boot brushes that we sell and give away to partners, and they're cleaning their bikes, and it's fun. That's all you need to do, clean your gear. So the other thing that we do is we have a very strong social following, and the messaging on that on our social feeds is fun and very clear. So one of the things that we've done in the last several months through a grant from USDA APHIS is do some targeted, more direct and more frequent marketing through social media, and really trying to engage those individual recreationists to make sure that they understand that this is something that they can do, and it's not hard. So these are some examples of this center photo is from the Wild Rivers Invasive Species Coalition, this billboard that behind the person in the car is from the Wild Rivers Invasive Species Coalition. So this is an example of where a partner took one of our graphics and swapped in or just added in their logo, and voila, they've customized a PlayCleanGo graphic for their local outreach needs. This is a boot brush kiosk here on the right, and here's an example of a coaster. So like I mentioned, we have very specific brand guidelines, and the reason for those very specific, very direct brand guidelines that tell partners how they can use the graphic, or the logo, the brand, and the other partner materials is because we recognize that the impact of the message of the brand is only going to be as strong as we keep that brand consistent. When the brand and the way that it's portrayed if there's too much flexibility, if there's too much leeway, and basically if the brand is too small or it's placed with too many competing images around it, we know from marketing research that dilutes the message. So when you become a partner, you get these brand guidelines, which are very clear, and we're here to help. If you have any issues adapting your outreach pieces with the PlayCleanGo brand, we're here to help. You can email and call us, shoot us your graphic, and we'll make sure that it's properly displayed. We also have materials that we sell to partners. Actually, we sell them to the general public. On the website, you can order these boot brushes here in the center. These are probably our most popular item. They're great giveaways to kids or any outdoor recreationist, and they're not just for boots. These are actually hoof picks. These are brushes designed for horses, so they work for the equestrian community. As you saw in that picture before, you could use them on your bike, in your bike tires. They're really quite versatile. And here are these images on the bottom are temporary tattoos that we also sell, are quite popular. This is a Leave No Trace ethics card that we worked with Leave No Trace to put together. This is just the front image of it. On the back, it has more tips. So it basically tells people very specific tips for cleaning their gear and how to dispose of it properly, dispose of potential invasive species, and leave no trace. So that was a really great partnership. And again, these are plastic, very durable cards that are designed to be used and reused. Put it in your backpack, clip it on your bike, what do you call it? Your gear bag on your bike, whatever. So it reminds you when you go out and when you come back to clean your gear. This is a field guide, a Tucker the Turtle field guide that has great images of invasive species, great outreach tool. Here's another boot brush station here. We have trail signs that partners can order. You can also take our graphic and customize it with your logo and outreach messaging. This is also really popular with partners. We have a kiosk, boot brush kiosk template. So you can take this, you can swap out these invasive species images with invasive species that are of concern in your area. Here you can add your logo on the bottom and any other messaging that you wanted. Modular formatting. So we do have a lot of partners who take our graphics and co-brand. And what we know from recent behavioral research is that the more we incorporate messages that are targeting different kinds of pathways of transport, for example, this "Don't Move Firewood," I'm sure many of you are familiar with that campaign. Basically, what we know is now if we incorporate more brands together, we have a greater impact in actually getting the behavior that we want. So the reason for that is someone, for example, they might be familiar with this "Don't Move Firewood" campaign because they're an avid camper and they've seen that at the campgrounds they go to, but they may not have seen PlayCleanGo. So if, say, for example, if this image were placed at a campsite, at a trailhead, education or recreation center, they'll make the connection they'll more likely to make the connection that they need to clean their gear, because they'll see that the logo that they're already familiar with and then add the new messaging. So it is flexible to, like I said, all outdoor activities. These are just some outdoor activities. There's definitely more we could think of, but the message is the same, no matter what recreational pathway we're talking about. Here's another example of hunters, an image that's targeted for hunters, and increasingly a growing community in the outdoor recreation field. Clean, Drain, Dry. We've worked with partners who use our messaging for aquatic invasive species prevention. Definitely, we encourage that as well. The taglines you've seen, as I've flipped through some of these images, the tagline can change, or the main header. In that brand guideline, there are several taglines or messages that are suggested and encouraged, and you're definitely welcome to swap out any of those. Field staff is kind of a growing field. We get more and more questions from our partners on how we can customize and make more materials to do outreach for field crews. So that is something that we're working on, and definitely welcome anyone on this call if you're interested in getting involved with helping to provide photos and input on that. That's something that we're interested in doing more of. So yeah, if any of you work with worker crews, this has been used, and we have graphics that are adapted for that pathway as well. Another Work, Clean, Go image there, and you can see again the co-branding with the Three Rivers area in Minnesota. Again, all of our partners are in all different parts of the country. This was a sign done by the Montana Noxious Weed Coalition. So, what's great about the campaign is that, like I said, the graphics are designed to be modular, and we recognize the importance of changing the images in the outreach materials to meet what your folks are seeing. So, this is definitely going to be more receptive. So a horseback rider or a trail person is going to be more receptive to this kind of image rather than, say, an image from the Northeast. It's not going to be the landscape that they're familiar with. So that's a really important part of the campaign. Again, just another example of co-branding with Stop Aquatic Hitchhikers and Clean, Drain, Dry. Messages definitely flexible. These are a couple of website banners. We have several website banner graphics that are customizable for partners. This top one was done by the Wyoming Weed and Pest Council, and the one on the bottom was for the state of Minnesota. The PlayCleanGo campaign is extremely collaborative in nature. It was designed to work across jurisdictional boundaries. It's really designed to facilitate cooperation among as diverse a number of groups as you can think of. So recreational pathways are limitless. Where people are going, it seems to be limitless. So it's really in our best interest to use a consistent, clear message across all of those borders. Just to give you a little feel for who is involved in the campaign, this graph is a little bit outdated, but I think the representation of organization types is fairly accurate, pretty accurate. While most organizations involved as partners are local units of government, a large number of groups are pest management organizations like CWMAs, SISMAs, PRISMs, things of those nature. Conservation organizations, so local organizations or regional. Some businesses, what else do we have? States, provinces, public land management organizations, recreation, tribal organizations, federal agencies. So a really diverse group, and that's really fantastic because, as we've said, the only way that this is going to be successful is if the brand is used, the same messaging is used across organization types, across jurisdictional boundaries, et cetera. So like I said, partnerships are growing throughout North America. We have a partnership with the Canadian Council on Invasive Species that is taking over campaign management for Canada. NASEMA is working closely with them. And Conabio, the equivalent of basically sort of our EPA or Department of Environmental Protection in Mexico, is also a partner. We'll be working more closely with them in the coming months and years on Spanish translation materials and getting more traction down into Mexico. When you go to our map, if you go to the PlayCleanGo website and go to current partners, you'll see an interactive map where you can click and dive in and see who are partners in your area. We have roughly 560, a little bit more, partner organizations across North America, representing a whole lot of states, 4 Canadian provinces, and 1 Mexican state, and that is growing. And so, like I said, if you go to that map and zoom in, you click on the minus arrow, you can click on that and keep diving in until you get closer to your neck of the woods to get contact info to find out who you can network, who are your local partners. So here's an example in New York. You click on this button, and here's the Catskill Regional Invasive Species Partnership. You can get their contact info and find out where they're using the PlayCleanGo brand. What kind of outreach materials have they developed, and how can you work together? Maybe sharing resources, sharing event planning, and all that good stuff. All right, so like I said, we've got a fantastic growing community. We have over 1,000 followers on Facebook. I think we might be close to 12,000 now. And at the moment, we have a grant to do focused expansion in the Eastern U.S., but very shortly we're going to be expanding that into to work on really being to do national marketing and outreach. So I definitely encourage you, if you are not a follower on Facebook or our other social accounts, Twitter or Instagram, definitely like us. You'll start to see posts of great posts that you can share through your organization and extend the reach. Like I said, so this is one of our goals right now through our current Eastern U.S. expansion, is to try to reach over 500,000 individuals in our targeted states through outreach with their making them aware of their responsibility for cleaning equipment before going to their next destination. And we're nearly there already with almost 450,000. And we expected to reach our goal closer to June, but we're already there. So we're super excited with the marketing strategy that our team is implementing. And another item that we recently added to the website is a pledge that you are welcome to direct people to take a pledge and basically, commit to cleaning their gear. What we do is, we ask individuals not just to pay attention to signage, but when someone takes a pledge, such as this online form, we know from social research that they're going to be more likely to actually do it the next time they go out. So definitely encourage everyone, even if you're not a current PlayCleanGo partner, to use this tool to bring awareness and commitment from your stakeholders to clean their gear. So moving forward, what you can expect to see as with the campaign and as a partner is you'll see more videos being made available that are teaching recreationists what to do to clean their gear. We're developing more digital graphic materials, so basically a lot of those images I showed you were developed over the last several years. We're just going to add to those. We're going to have images that show more of the behaviors that we want people to do. We're going to have more invasive species images, making awareness greater for what invasive species are. And again, those things will be customizable. So you can take those and add your logo and add your message to customize for your local messaging. Again, shareable social media content. And we've developed some great connections with funders and a growing number of outdoor retailers who are adopting the campaign. So more and more we're seeing bigger organizations realize what this universal brand has the capacity to do, and they're signing on and saying, this is great. This is the universal message that we've been looking for to kind of add sustainability, add awareness to our customers, to our clients. And so, yeah, we're just really excited for the reach that we're seeing now in our partnerships. And recently we launched a webinar series, so keep an eye out for that. If you're a partner, we've got a great lineup of webinars, and I believe next month we're going to have Chris Evans with the University of Illinois. He's going to present the results from a research project where they showed what actually came out of boot brushes, boot brush stations. So they basically grew out the stuff that people were kicking off their boots from the boot brushes, and lo and behold, spoiler alert, there were quite a few invasive species that came up, but that'll be a great webinar. So I suggest you keep an eye out for that. Okay, so how do you become a partner? Well, it's really easy. Go to the website, go to join, and you'll go to this page where you have 3 main categories to choose from, depending on what type of organization you are, or if you're an individual. Depending on what level you choose, these are the partner organization benefits. So based on the level you choose, you get a variety of benefits available to you, from being listed on the website to a shout out in our newsletter and on social media, access to webinars, some of these products that I mentioned before, and I'll just point out some of the things that we get asked for most are help with graphic design services. So like I mentioned, you have access to all these graphic design materials, but if you need help customizing them, we are available to do that, and there's a discount for that with these upper levels of partner organization membership. So with that, I will ask for you all to join us. If you are not already a partner, consider using this universal brand for invasive species awareness and prevention to help us stop the spread of invasive species through recreational travel. The brand it's easy to add to your trailheads, your boat landings, campgrounds, wherever you have the opportunity to do outreach to recreationists and help us show the behavior that we want recreationists to do. Really the success of the campaign is very much dependent on our partnerships with organizations. I just can't say enough for the ability of partners to reach more individuals than we can on our own, and the customization of the graphics and of the messaging is really the key. And again, the brand is very flexible and allows for you to add your local images and messaging. So I'm going to wrap up and thank our major supporters. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources spent an incredible amount of resources funding, their own internal funding to make the program what it is today. We definitely would not be here without them. The North American Invasive Species Management Association also, in taking over management of the campaign, has assumed quite a bit of responsibility to do that. And we're really excited for this partnership. Like I mentioned before, we have significant support from USDA APHIS. We've been greatly supported by the Forest Service and some of our Western districts, so districts and counties have been incredibly supportive over the years. And there are many more that have climbed on board, and I should have put some more on here, but go to our website and see who else is involved. And definitely I want to just invite everyone to, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself. Here's my contact info, or Hannah Bowers, who is our communications and program manager. Either one of us can direct you to the right resources or answer your questions and help you get involved. So with that, I want to again encourage you to join us if you are not, and hopefully I believe I've allowed enough time for questions, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments to talk about PlayCleanGo.
All right, thank you, Belle. That was fantastic. While people are getting their questions put into the question box, I'll ask a couple that I have of my own. I do want to say I love the customization, so it's not the overall message is Play Clean Go, but you do have the Work Clean Go and the Ride Clean Go. I think that's fabulous because people may, as you said, they may key in on something that seems to apply more to them than maybe a more general message. So I thought that was really, really great. Has anything changed over time as the project has been continuously assessed? Have you targeted different audiences? Have you targeted different partners or adjusted your message in any way?
That's a good question. I mean, because I wasn't involved with the campaign's inception, I think, well, I can say this. The initiative to get the campaign going was a realization that there were already aquatic invasive species messaging and brand. The Clean Drain Dry campaign had already been initiated and launched, and I think Stop Aquatic Hitchhikers had already been launched. There was a forest pest messaging campaign, but there was nothing that addressed terrestrial recreationists. So it started with that motivation to address this pathway of spread for invasive species that no one else was addressing. And since then, when partners started to use it and basically we started to have conversations with them, there was a realization that they also wanted to incorporate aquatics messaging or the worker messaging. And so that's where, so it's kind of evolved over time as different kinds of partners have been involved to incorporate the aquatic or forest pest, or like you saw, don't move firewood messaging. And so, yeah, it has changed, and the messaging has changed a bit. The taglines, I think more sort of taglines or headers have been added to the brand guidelines. And the kinds of partners we're targeting, I think, I think the target partner group, it may have started with local land organizations, but I think it was always fairly broad, and we're seeing now more regional groups and more businesses joining that were not partners before. So that's exciting. So the business and the business and outdoor retailer sector is enormous, and they have the potential to reach an incredible number of individuals, and really a huge sector of our target audience. The individuals purchasing products from outdoor retailers are ones who often want to have, they want to have the tools to protect the places they love, but they don't necessarily know what they can do. And many times they don't understand that invasive species are potential hitchhikers on their gear. And so, yeah, so we are broadening and always open to new types of organizations to be involved.
Well, that's fantastic. I have one more question. Is Chris Evans going to be publishing the results of that boot brush study? I'd love to see that if he does.
I don't know. You'll have to ask him on the webinar.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We do have some questions. Claire Myler, will Spanish language info be made available in the U.S.?
Yes, that is definitely a goal. I can't tell you when that's going to happen, but we are hoping that will happen by the end of this year. And yes, that will become part of the partner library, the shared partner library. So yes.
Okay. Franny Brewer, do you have any published papers on the effectiveness of any of the campaigns or messages that you can share?
Oh, good question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think there's anything published on PlayCleanGo specifically, but you know, I know that Ken Donnelly with behavior change consulting, he's done a lot of research on exactly asking that kind of question. So if you want to shoot me your email, I'll connect you with him, and I bet he can answer that question.
Okay. Carla Porter, I would love to see another campaign created that follows the Work Clean Go model geared for professionals who work outdoors. So landscapers, land movers for development, etc. So do you know if I know you guys have your campaign that includes that message, but is there a specific campaign out there?
No, and I just had a conversation with someone saying the same thing. Someone who worked with a landscaper who was interested in getting involved. So I don't know. I'm not aware of a campaign that targeted landscapers, but I think this message could absolutely be adapted for that sector.
Yeah, I know they're doing a lot of development recently where I live, and so I see all the time dirt moving trucks and, you know, fill dirt, but I also see, you know, all different kinds of like bulldozers and front end loaders and all different kinds of equipment like that, and it is often just covered in different, you know, dirt from who knows where coming into where we are. So I can see that definitely being a problem in many more places.
Yep.
Franny Brewer, she said, sure. So that would be in reply to, she'll send you an email asking for that publication information. So Hess Muse, very important for any heavy machinery that goes into pristine area for construction purposes to be cleaned, and I doubt that it is. Those are very big boots, may require legislation. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I know for EdMaps, there have been different agencies that are required to report any invasive species they come across into EdMaps. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there is some like state by state regulations for either cleaning or doing evaluations as they're working. Belle, do you know of any specific, anything like that?
So the question is asking for specific regulation.
Hess was just commenting that the construction, you know, equipment and big, you know, heavy machinery moving does spread stuff around, and she said, you know, that it may require legislation, and I didn't know if you were aware of anything for either development or just, you know, gear moving in general.
I'm not aware. I mean, I don't think I'm not aware of legislation or regulations on that, but I mean, many states have regulations that have to do with the transport of invasive species, but they're not specific to, for example, construction or road crews or, you know, any sort of specific pathway.
Yeah. Yep. So Franny Brewer said, we have that problem spread by heavy machinery in Hawaii too. Yeah, Hawaii is beautiful, and it seems like very often I do get notifications of things that are found when surveying for Hawaii, but it's Hawaii and Florida and some of these other states that I know we've worked with have really active programs. So it's, it's great on our end to see the efforts they're going to in some ways manage as many of the invasive species issues that you guys have. And Minnesota has been one of the great states for managing invasive species. So I applaud PlayCleanGo in your guys' part for helping with that issue. So yeah. So, and like I said, I really enjoyed seeing the work CleanGo part, because I actually hadn't heard of that particular message you guys had. William Wamsley, are there any MOUs with federal agencies that describe supporting the PlayCleanGo program?
Yes, there are. We have an MOU with the the U.S. Forest Service. We are on the cusp of one with the National Park Service and the Fish and Wildlife Refuge System. And I know that the Bureau of Land Management is also working on one right now. So that was a very timely question. It was just last year that we signed the MOU with the Forest Service, and those other ones I just mentioned are in the works right now. And I think getting those MOUs in place will be a huge stepping stone to getting the brand in just an incredible geographic area that it wasn't there before. And in fact, I'm doing a webinar for the Forest Service invasive species program managers in a couple of weeks to kind of get the ball rolling and get the brand embedded in all of the regions.
William had a follow-up question. Are the MOUs at your website?
The MOU with the Forest Service is actually with NASMA, and it is on NASMA's website. So if you go to nasma.org, I believe it might still be on the home page. I'm fairly certain it is. It's on the bottom on the news section.
Okay. Jim Hurley had follow-up with the MOUs. Do you have an MOU with the Appalachian Trail Conference for the Appalachian Trail?
No, we don't. They would be a great partner. If you have a connection with them, help us make that connection.
Okay. Does anybody else? Oh, oh, this is great. Jim Hurley again. PlayCleanGo. People walk dogs off leash. That is true. So
that's a good one. I like that.
That would be a great one. Maybe you could get a partnership with the We Rate Dogs, the Twitter for We Rate Dogs. Yeah. Carla Porter, where do I purchase the PlayCleanGo brushes?
Great question. If you go to the PlayCleanGo website, I believe it's under here. Maybe I can show you. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if I can get out of this. Well, I'll try to describe it. If you go to the resources page, there's a download order form. It's either under the graphics or resources. There's a green button that says download order form. We're getting an online ordering system in place so you don't have to deal with this PDF. But in the meantime, yep, it's right there. And if you have trouble, reach out to me and I'll send you the link.
Okay, Jim Hurley replied that he will do on the Appalachian Trail Conference.
All right. Fantastic.
So you might have a contact coming in there.
Wonderful.
Jillian Bell, do you have materials available for schools?
Yeah, well, the Tucker the Turtle field guide is one that it was designed to be used with school groups. So that's a great one. There's also a coloring book, Tucker the Turtle coloring book, that I think is on, I got to double check if it's on that order form. I believe it is. If it's not, we'll figure out how to get that to you. So for school groups, I mean, it's between either those things or, the temporary tattoos are actually very popular that show some of those invasive species images. I really like the Leave No Trace ethics cards because it's just, there are a ton of very specific things that are recommendations for folks to do, and it's definitely, you know, easy enough for school kids to use.
Okay. Jim Hurley's coming through again. He is also going to help you out with the Potomac Appalachian Trail Club.
Awesome.
Okay,
Fantastic.
Yes. Okay, I think that might be the last one I have here. Oh, one more. Jillian Bell, are there any PlayCleanGo logos for birders?
Oh, good question. I don't think so, but that would be a great one to add.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are interested in birding, so I could see that, you know, that being a really useful one, especially as you get into, you know, working with like the National Park Service and things like that.
Yeah. But again, so that's something where, you know, when you become a partner and you get access to all the graphic library, you are welcome to take and customize any of the materials with that message. So PlayCleanGo, PlayCleanGo, you know, I love it. That's definitely open, it's fair territory. As long as the brand is placed according to the brand guidelines, as long as the document is set up the way that we've outlined it, you can absolutely use that kind of messaging.
Oh, fantastic! I do love that. It's so customizable. That was a really nifty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Deron Lacey, what would be a way to determine the effectiveness of the program? A before and after type observation.
Yeah, that's something that I know our partners have struggled with. Yeah, I mean, if you've got the resources to have, you know, at some regular interval, someone at a trailhead monitoring behavior, or if you have a way to set up some kind of remote webcam or something, you know, yeah, that'd be a great summer intern project. But I don't know of any study that's documented that. It's something that we actually have a pending grant to the Forest Service to provide some funding for a few partners to do that. So hopefully, if that gets funded, we'll have some answers to that.
Yeah. Okay. So that might be. I might say this again and interrupt myself again. That might be the last question. So again, just to remind everyone, this presentation will be made available through YouTube, the NISA website, and the NAIPC website. Again, that's nisaw.org and na-ipc.org. So I want to thank Belle for joining us. She gave a great talk, a lot of great questions from the audience. I want to thank the audience for joining us. I think there are still some other webinars going on from different organizations. So this is the last one specifically through NISA. So I want to thank everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you again, Belle.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thanks everyone for joining.